Welcome to Comics Are Awesome, brought to you by Alter Ego Comics. I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And we're here to talk about this week's best comics. This week, lots of awesome stuff, including my pick of the week, Old Man Hawkeye #1 by Ethan Sachs and Marco Cicchetto. This takes place 5 years before the original Old Man Logan by Mark Millar and Steve McNiven, and is awesome. If you're a fan of that Old Man Logan, this is a no-brainer. If you're a fan of Hawkeye, this is a no-brainer. Basically, for those of you that haven't read Old Man Logan, the villains all unite under the Red Skull, and they realize that once we work together, basically once we work together, we can overthrow the heroes, which
it's a beautiful message, really.
Yes.
Except they murder everyone.
Yeah. Old Man Logan is a must-read. Probably a must-read if you want to read this.
I would concur, yes.
Yes. But they're in this kind of survival mode. The remaining heroes, and there are very, very few, are in survival mode at this point. Hawkeye is one of them, and he's trying to earn a living however he can. He's essentially what was the name? He's a transporter, like that Jason Statham movie. So he will drive people or products from one area to another to get paid. For those of you that have read Old Man Logan, you know that Hawkeye is blind in that story, and we get the beginning of that happening here. And it's a struggle. This is a 12-issue miniseries, so it's going to be coming out over the next 12 months. There's a lot of ground to cover, a lot of uncharted territory in the Old Man Logan universe or landscape, so I am really curious and excited to see where this goes. We get appearances by familiar characters within the Marvel Universe, also characters that if you've read Old Man Logan you'll be familiar with. Artwork by Cicchetto is awesome. It's jaw-dropping. I've loved everything this guy's done, from his incredible run on The Punisher with Greg Rucka that no one seems to like except Josh and me, to his Star Wars work, to this. Marco Cicchetto is a force to be reckoned with in the art world. And Ethan Sachs, I don't know a lot about. I think he's coming from the world of prose, but I could be wrong. This was enjoyable from beginning to end, and I want more.
And I really like the characterization of Hawkeye. You can see that this is a midpoint between the Hawkeye we have now and the Hawkeye we see in Old Man Logan, just in the way he talks, and it's really cool. My pick of the week this week is Mr. Miracle #6 of 12, written by Tom King, art by Mitch Gerads. This book is amazing and beautiful and heartfelt, and it is, I apologize. I have to kind of walk a fine line in these reviews. I want to tell you what I think is the best book of the week, but I also want to give you information that's helpful, and it's not that helpful to tell you for the 6th month in a row that Mr. Miracle is freaking amazing, but I couldn't not talk about this book. It is amazing. It is great. It is a miracle. This one we get essentially, it's one overarching story across the whole series, but this particular issue is primarily Scott and Barda fighting their way through just friggin' everything. Parademons, at this point they're going up against some of the other new gods, guardians on, what's the planet that's not Apocalypse? Is it just called New Gods Land? I'm sure there's a name for it. But that other planet where the good gods live.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're just mowing through, and it is bloody and gruesome as heck. And they've maintained this cool layout that's like 9-panel grid, like Watchmen. But they also kind of play with it sometimes, where we get larger images broken up into a 9-panel. But throughout the entire thing, this graphic superhero battle, this slugfest, their conversation is like a normal everyday conversation that a couple has. They're talking about remodeling their kitchen, like, oh, we'll knock this wall down and move these around. And there's a reveal at the end of this issue. I'm pretty sure it's a reveal. It may have actually been teased in a previous issue and I've forgotten. But it's incredibly obvious. Like, anybody who reads it gets it long before Scott does. And normally knowing what's coming is bad, but in this time I think King wanted you to know, and he plays with it. You get it. It's just an amazing character study. This is true of Tom King's Batman as well. It was absolutely true of his Vision run. Tom King writes superheroes as human better than anyone. His heroes are incredibly relatable, the way they talk, the things they feel It's just really amazing to have these. It's basically an indie comic, you know. It's like a day tripper or any book that's just like a slice of life. It's just these people's lives happen to be about punching giant monsters and saving the universe and stuff. And it's just I can't say enough nice things about Mr. Miracle. It is a joy every month when it comes out.
Two things. First, you mentioned Vision. The deluxe hardcover treatment of Tom King's Vision is out this week as well. I'm embarrassed to say, have not read Tom King's Vision, so I will be purchasing the hardcover for myself. I encourage you to do so. Sight unseen. I'm having not read anything, just based on word of mouth and the way that I love his Batman book and Mr. Miracle. I'm going to give it a shot. Number two, now that Brian Michael Bendis is working for DC, we get pull quotes from Brian Michael Bendis on comics now.
Every year, one book stands above everyone else's. Fans and creators alike stop and stare in amazement at a couple of creators finding a new voice, a new point of view, and new levels of artistic expression. This year, it is Mr. Miracle, Brian Michael Bendis.
Esquire. All right, next up for me, a story that could only be told in comics, Battlestar Galactica versus Battlestar Galactica. The crews of the 1970s series and the 2000s series are meeting under the direction of writer Peter David, which is the only reason I'm reading this, honestly. I enjoyed both shows. I was a kid when the 70s one came on. I think the Battlestar Galactica 2000 series is one of the finest pieces of television, specifically sci-fi television, of all time. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. And Peter David is a legend within the comic book industry, and he's a very accomplished writer. I can remember when I was in high school, I was reading his Star Trek The Next Generation novels, and he just is an amazing writer, and it shows in this book, which in less certain hands could be a disaster. I'm impressed with this first issue. The artwork is by Johnny Desjardins, I think is his name. It picks up with seeing the 1970s Galactica crew and also the crew of the Pegasus, which was presumably destroyed, so under Commander Kane, and we see how there's a sci-fi go-to of how to bring two different universes together in this one. So I am really excited to see where this goes, and this is, again, it's who's it for? It's for Battlestar Galactica fans. It's plain and simple.
Next up for me, we've got a bevy of Star Wars stuff out, but headlining is Darth Vader number 10, written by Charles Soule with art by Giuseppe Camuncoli. This is the end of the second story arc, which sees Darth Vader trying to hunt down Jedi Librarian Jocasta Nu. You remember her for like 30 seconds in Attack of the Clones, I think.
Jocasta, wasn't she an Avenger?
Yeah, she was. Soule is doing an amazing job in this. There have been a lot of Darth Vader books, and it's kind of a fine line to walk because he's like basically Hitler in the original trilogy, and that's what a lot of people want is, you know, big, scary, bad, heavy-breathing Darth Vader. But he's obviously the protagonist for a while, at least, in the original story, and he is the title character in this, and it's not super interesting to watch a bad guy murder people over and over again. You have to give him some character depth. And Soule does a great job of making... He's not really conflicted, because he's totally in whatever you think is best, master mode of hunting down and murdering Jedi, but you can see that there's still some glimmers of the good man who will be redeemed at the end of Jedi. And Jocasta Nu is actually pretty badass and cool. They do a good job of showing some of the strengths of the Jedi that do not lie in combat, although she's pretty good at that too. I also like that this is like the very beginning. At one point in here, Nu turns on her lightsaber, clone troopers start shooting at her, maybe they're stormtroopers now, I don't know where that line falls. And then Vader turns on his, and they start shooting at him, like, oh god, it's another Jedi, because regular stormtroopers haven't got the memo that our boss now carries a lightsaber and murders people. So it's really neat to see that kind of transitional period, that adjustment in Vader as part of the larger larger story, and Soule is doing a great job with it. Also out, this next part of Forces of Destiny, this one focuses on Rey, and this one's kind of neat because it actually sort of takes place during The Force Awakens. We see a slight recap of things we saw on screen, but most of it is just happening between the scenes in Force Awakens with Rey and BB-8 in the deserts of And also out, Forces of Destiny, this is a collection of 3 prose stories. These are all about Leia, But what you may dig is the third story is a team-up between Leia... Well, team-up isn't right. It features Leia and Sabine interacting. Of course, Sabine is from Rebels. And so there's all kinds of awesome Star Wars fans. No matter what age, no matter where you fall on the spectrum, there's something Star Wars for you this week.
I love that they're taking the characters from Rebels and throwing them into the original trilogy. We had Hera making an appearance in the Leia Forces of Destiny one-shot last week. And then we have a Hera one-shot coming out next week. Oh, all right. This is the big 800-pound gorilla from Marvel this week, Avengers No Surrender, Part 1. This is Avengers number 675. So what Marvel is doing is they have suspended and in some cases canceled all the Avengers titles with the exception of Avengers. And they've all been thrown into this storyline, the No Surrender storyline, which is a 16-part weekly story written by the regular writers of all the Avengers books. So Mark Waid, Al Ewing, and Jim Zub are collaborating on this. Artwork in this issue is by Pepe Larraz. Pepe Larraz! Hey, I got it right. Who does a fabulous job. I don't use the word fabulous enough, I guess, but drawing all of the Avengers from everything. So we've got Uncanny Avengers, we've got Rogues Unity Squad, we've got Hawkeye and Red Wolf from Occupy Avengers, a very underrated series, by the way.
We got Lightning? You guys remember Lightning, right?
Yeah. Anyway. I wasn't going to talk about that.
I was saying, Lightning's in there. It was going to be a surprise
That was the weak point of it.
I didn't think so. I like seeing those kind of underused Avengers that you only see once in a while.
I don't even remember this guy. I've read Avengers comics for most of my life, and I don't remember that guy. I mean, I guess I do. I remember the Rangers. Yeah. But we digress. And who's the other team? Sunspot and his team.
Oh, U.S. Avengers.
U.S. Avengers with that red general guy. I have no idea who it is.
He's a Hulk.
Yeah. He looks exactly like...
The military made another Hulk, and he's on a timer. It only lasts for so long.
Okay. Yeah. But the funny thing is, even though there are more characters in here that I know nothing about, I still enjoyed this story. It's got enough of a balance of your recognizable old-school Avengers, plus your kind of unique characters like Hercules, which Josh and I both enjoy reading Hercules stuff, and characters like Squirrel Girl and everybody. But then it's like these people from Uncanny Avengers and U.S. Avengers that I'm like, who is this? What? I don't understand. But it doesn't matter because it was a fun story, a fun first issue, and I'm curious to see how they get out of it. 16 weeks ahead of us with Avengers. The first issue has a wraparound lenticular cover, but with art by Mark Brooks, featuring all kinds of Avengers, and it is really cool. When they get it right, they get it right. So there you go. If you're a Marvel fan, you want to check this out. If you've been away from Avengers, you probably want to come and check this out too. Just a quick side note, I know a lot of people locally here in store, but also all over the place, are kind of down on Marvel with a lot of stuff, and we're talking about books from Marvel that are impressing us, so give them a shot. Hopefully you haven't sworn them off completely. The Star Wars universe is really strong over there. Old Man Hawkeye, Avengers were big picks for me, and Josh has some more Marvel to talk about.
Yeah, I've got a Marvel 2 for books that were awesome and are still awesome. Punisher 220, written by Matt Rosenberg with art by Guy Villanova, we'll say. Possibly Dewey Villanova? I don't know. This continues the Frank Castle that has the War Machine armor and just murders people. We're in Chernea. Is that what it is? Yeah, Chernea, possibly. It's a fictional, I'm assuming, country in Eastern Europe. Yeah.
A suburb of Chernobyl?
But I continue to be impressed by Rosenberg's characterization of Castle. It's a fine line to walk, and not everybody can write a Punisher book, and I think this one will please anybody who is a fan of the Punisher. Also, still amazing, also by Charles Soule, who I was talking about on Vader. We've got Mayor Fisk in Daredevil 597, art by Umberto Landini, Stefano Landini. And I like Charles Soule's writings. I like Daredevil. I hate Mayor Fisk. I don't like Kingpin being mayor of New York, but I'm supposed to hate it. And I like seeing the way other characters are reacting to it, the way normal people are reacting to it. I like to see the way Daredevil's in it. We get an appearance by Foggy in here, which is always fun. They're drawing him so much like the guy from the Netflix show.
Well,
it's not
Kingpin
even funny.
Too is
Kingpin, yeah.
And even Matt,
some of the shots
cases
looks like Charlie
Cox.
Yeah. But those are both still amazing titles for Marvel, books that have been coming strong out of Legacy, although Daredevil was strong for all of Soul's run. And we do get to see a little more. They're bringing back one of Mark's favorite recent Daredevil villains, Muse, from the Inhuman stuff, so it should be good.
I'm excited about that. Yeah. I follow Charles Soule on Twitter, and he was tweeting yesterday from New York City, which is where he lives, that he could hear, you know, ice and rain hitting his window, and he's trying to get in the mindset of Matt Murdock and how he would be processing that, and just, you know, this guy goes all in when he's working on projects, so... finally, for me, it's in the also ran category, books that have been good, continue to be good, and should totally be on your pull list. Detective Comics number 972. This continues the fall of the Batman story by James Tynion IV. Artwork by someone who does an amazing job. I think the art is great in it. And it's probably like 5 pages back here because DC has this preview of the Terrifics. There it is. Miguel Mendonca. Miguel Mendonca. This is just so good. Tynion is doing a bang-up job writing this. I mean, the dialogue in here is outstanding. Detective Comics, right up there neck and neck with Tom King's Batman for me. Which is quite an accomplishment. Such a strong Batman universe right now with these two books, also with Metal being published and White Knight and all this other stuff going on. It's a great time to be a Batman fan.
Last up for me, another also ran. We've got Monstro Mechanica number 2, written by Paul Allora with art by Chris Evenhouse, who's also co-creator, it would appear. And Paul Allora is the letterer. Everybody's just doing all kinds of works. This continues the story of a mercenary and brilliant Leonardo da Vinci taking sides, or basically being an arms dealer in the war between the Medicis and the Catholic Church. It is brilliant and fun, and really, we get a little more sci-fi than you normally see in an alternative history, which I'm digging, seriously. I like that all the characters are kind of questionable. It's not so much questionable, it's like, you never really know who's the bad guy or who's totally trustworthy, which is probably consistent with almost everyone they're depicting who's a real person. And just Aftershock puts out books that aren't like anything else on the stands. And that's what I wanted.
Speaking of the Catholic Church, Judas number 2 is out this week from Boom Studios, which I continued to enjoy. It was a great second issue, so check that out. This is the beauty of it, folks, is that the entire week's releases are strong from everybody, whether you're talking about Aftershock or Boom or DC or Marvel or Dynamite with Battlestar Galactica. There is something for everybody in the world of comics. So head out to your local comic shop, show them your support, and pick up some amazing reads. If you do have any questions about the books that we talked about, you can leave them in the comments below, or you can participate in our private Facebook group for Comics Are Awesome. There'll be a link there. And give this video a thumbs up. The more likes it gets, the more views hopefully it gets, the more it gets put in front of people with like mindsets, so we can get more people reading comics that are awesome. And we appreciate that. So thank you for watching. We always appreciate your time and your comments, and we'll see you again real soon.